Hello, Wrestless fans. Welcome to this new edition of Ringside Chats. Today we have a very special guest on today's episode. Currently training with the five-time, technically six-time world champion Booker T. And you can find this man competing at Reality of Wrestling, born and bred in South Houston, Texas, and a complete badass. Thank you for joining us, Emilio Tovar. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. It's a pleasure to be on your podcast with you.
Hell yeah, man. Been ups and downs trying to get this interview going, but we finally got it, and I've been really
Yes,
excited
we're here,
to.
so that's all that
We're
counts.
here. Um, so I guess I want to start off this interview by just asking the basic question, the roots of your career. I believe you've been training in the professional wrestling business for about a couple years now.
Yeah,
Um,
since 2020.
2020. What led you to spend so much money, time, dedication into professional wrestling? Because it is a pretty expensive and not only money wise but time wise and dedication wise thing to get into. Did you begin your training in Reality of Wrestling, or did you begin training somewhere else?
No, from the very first day I got in a ring, it was at Reality of Wrestling. They were the first ones that I reached out to because I knew that they were one of the best schools in the country. So I knew that if I was serious about this and I wanted to go to the right place, that was the only place to go.
For sure. And I bet you, like, you grew up as a wrestling fan, and how was it working with Booker T? How hands on is he with the training process?
He's very hands on. He'll get in there and he'll show you exactly the little fine nuances you need to perfect a move to make it get really over the top. You know, whether it's just facial animations or just a swing of the arm. You know, doing a full range of motion instead of having it real jerky. He'll get in there and he'll fine tune all the details you need to really put over whatever you're trying to do, a spot or a move or just any kind of thing that goes on in the wrestling ring.
Yeah. How nerve-wracking was it to train with Booker T? Did you have any nerves? Were you a bit nervous? Because this is one of the greatest of all time.
Right.
And yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it was a little nerve wracking. I kind of just took it as like, okay, so this is a guy that I've always looked at on TV, and I always knew he was a good dude. You know, he was a big dude. And so I get in there and you see the size comparison and you're like, all right, well, you got to show your toughness now.
yeah. And when at that moment, because I believe ROW's training website states on their website that you can train here, but it's not guaranteed that you would wrestle for our promotion. When was that, I guess, acceptance that Booker T was like, hey, you're really good, man. You want to try out into the ROW crowd in front of all these people?
Probably, I'd say it was in the middle of COVID, so it probably would have happened sooner than what it did. But I say close to almost a year. It was about 10 months to where I was training there, and they finally told me, hey, let me pull you aside, and they said, hey, you think you're ready? And I said, oh yeah, I've been ready. They're like, okay, well we're gonna go ahead and give you a shot and see what you got. And I went out there, and my first match was against Blake Cortez. He also started there at Reality of Wrestling, and it was a very simple match, 5 minute match. Nothing too hard. Everything that you go over in training countless times. Um, but when I talk about as soon as I walked through the curtain, I had tunnel vision. Like I could see about this far. I couldn't see anything beside me. I couldn't see the fans. I had family there. I said, I didn't even know y'all were there. I was just focused on getting in that ring and trying to perform to the best of my ability. And it's like that your first couple of matches, and eventually you get more comfortable, and it all goes away.
Yeah, man. That definitely you definitely did show yourself off throughout these past couple years. You are very talented and entertaining to watch. So that Booker T training definitely helped you
And
tons.
thank you. Yes.
But I guess, but what made you decide, like, officially, I think I want to begin training in reality wrestling or just in professional wrestling?
Well, I can tell you the exact moment. Um, Growing up, I've always liked wrestling, but it was always something that I was like, "Oh, I probably can't do that," you know. That's too much. That's too much on your body. And you hear the stories of the wrestlers. They go off and do other things, and so you hear all the backstage dirty sheet stuff. And so I'm like, nah, I don't think I'd be interested in that. But I mean, wrestling's cool. I always liked it. Um, but then I was watching a documentary on the back then it was WWE Network, um, and it was of Edge making his return to the Royal Rumble
Yeah.
that was in Houston, Texas. And so when I saw that, and I saw like the dedication, and I saw just how much it meant to him to be in front of the fans, and there was a moment there where he kind of got teary eyed, and I said, "Man, that must be something pretty freaking special." And I started right then and there. I started looking up wrestling schools in my area, and I saw that it was Booker T school, and I saw all the rave reviews of best school in Texas, best school in the country, and I said, you know what? It's right. It's not that far. It's in Texas City. I was living in Pearland at the time, and I said, let me go ahead and let me walk in and give it a shot. I mean, I've played football, so I'm pretty sure it can't be too hard on my body, but I'm pretty sure I went in there humble. I knew that it was gonna kick me, but I wanted to give it a shot, and if I liked it, I'd stick with it. If not, hey, I gave it a shot. It's something I always like to see, so I wanted to get in that ring and see what it was all about.
Were there like any moments where like you just wanted to quit, because it, again, like you said, tasking to your body, tasking mentally sometimes even. Were there any moments where you're like, hell nah, this ain't for me?
Yes, there's been a couple of moments after maybe a bad match, or just really a bad training session. You kind of start getting in your head. You're like, man, like, do I have the ability to compete at an elite level? And you kind of get in your head a little bit, but then you got to remember that you're growing. And just like anything else, just like any other sport, you're gonna make your mistakes, and there's gonna be people that are far more advanced than you, and you're gonna have to get to their level somehow, some way. You're gonna have to get to their level and surpass their level if you want to be one of the greats. If you want to make it to one of the big promotions. And so, yeah, the thought of hey, maybe this ain't for me. Maybe this is just too much for me. That's came across my mind, but I always think about, hey man, you're young and you're pretty good at it. You're not elite level, but you're pretty good at it, and you've invested so much. Let's just continue this show and see where it takes you.
Yeah. Um, and as you mentioned, and as your ROW bio mentions online, used to be a wide receiver and a safety for Manville High School. Um, so before we get into the football player questions, um, did your high school have like a wrestling team? Did you ever like think about, hey, I like professional wrestling. Maybe I should try out the amateur wrestling in high school if you guys had that team.
No, they did not have a wrestling team. I wanted to be on the wrestling team, and they did not have it.
Yeah.
So I did my other love for sports, and that was football.
Did you, did you ever like how was being a football player? Did you have like ever see yourself having a career in that, or some plans after high school, like maybe I want to do this in college?
Yes, I wanted to be in the NFL. I wanted to be another Wes Welker or Danny Amendola, quick little slot receiver. And I believed I could do it, and I was pretty good. Um, I did have a lot of ankle injuries. My ankle was like my Achilles heel. I always had an ankle that would flare up on me all the time. But I stuck it out and I toughed it out a lot through a lot of injuries, and it toughened me up, mentally and physically. Um, so in the wrestling world, when they're coaching you, you'll have some coaches that'll give it to you straight, and you'll have some coaches that they don't want to hurt your feelings. I prefer the other one because it lets you know where you stand. And football definitely, most coaches, I say about 98% of them, they're hard nosed. They'll tell you, hey, if you suck, you suck. If you're good, you're good. What you need to work on. And that translates so well to the wrestling world when it comes to training. So you kind of get like a thick skin to the progression. And I think that alone helped me out tremendously, or else I would have quit after a very hard day at practice or a bad match. I would have said, you know what, I don't like this. This ain't for me. I suck. I'm out. I believe football really helped me out in that aspect, and also just a physical aspect. Um, football's very very hard on your body. I religiously would take ice baths at least once or twice a week, just because the soreness, the bruises. I'm pretty sure I've gotten a concussion or two, and I've tried to just tough it out, and so that really helps when it comes to wrestling, because there's those first 2 weeks, I'd say about 2 weeks getting in the ring and running the ropes and bumping, and that first 2 weeks is so grueling on your body, and you end up sore in places you didn't even know you could be sore in. So it definitely it helped out.
Yeah. I used to be a wrestler in high school, and I feel your pain with all these injuries and stuff, man. I hated ice baths.
Yeah,
I I
they suck.
like when I was like 16 and I was doing ice baths, I was screaming like a little girl when I was trying to walk in. Um, but yeah, I was. What do you think is more grueling to your body, football or wrestling?
I'd say wrestling, honestly. I really would, because there'd be a couple of matches where I can't even like walk the next day. I'm so beat up. And I've never been that way from football. Of course I've never broken anything major like a leg or anything, but there's been matches where like the next day I just want to lay in bed because I'm so freaking sore. You know, so I definitely say wrestling for sure.
And I guess real quick, like how does there's with professional wrestling, there's more than just like running through ropes. You have your occasional ladder match, you have your occasional steel chair match. Is that something they also teach you during training, and you get like hit by steel chairs, you get put through tables? Does that happen during training?
So that's kind of like a thing where you kind of do a one-on-one training with somebody who knows. It's not really going to be a full class kind of training. But if you have a ladder match coming up, you want to talk to somebody who's been in some ladder matches, and you kind of you find a good experienced vet, and they teach you all the nuances, and where's a safe spot to hit, how to hold a chair, you know, um, and things about the ladder. You want to protect your face. So I'd say that's probably a one-on-one kind of training, or maybe like a small group for training. But not very big. Yeah, that's kind of a thing you got to do on your own.
Man, I I believe I saw you in a well, you have an upcoming ladder match here at Summer of Champions 2023, but before that, I believe I saw you in another I think it was another six-man ladder match
Mhm.
for ROW. I guess similar question kind of, but how is the preparation going into that? Because again, it's very different from a singles match, obviously, and there's a lot more people you have to work with. How does that conversation, go along? Like, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, or is it more of like an improv thing for you guys?
Yeah, well, usually the things that happen inside the ring, that's pretty much planned. Sometimes it can go a little sideways to where you kind of have to improvise, take a ladder shot or a chair shot or whatever. But mostly the outside is brawling. So it's kind of like your Stone Cold match, to where it's like, oh, if you're on the outside and you don't really have a spot in the ring, just brawl. If you see somebody, attack them. Or somebody's gonna attack you. Um, because usually there's somebody in the ring that's having a spot with somebody, so you don't want to interrupt that until it's your time to get in there. Um, but yeah, a lot of the Tower of Doom things, and a lot of the big ladder spots, people jumping off of ladders, and usually to like the entire crew that's in there. You want to plan those things out. You want to get into position at the right time. You don't want to jump the gun too early, and you don't want to be late. So those kind of things, that is planned. I was just watching some of the Money in the Bank, and some of the spots are pretty good.
Yeah.
And I know that stuff that takes a lot of planning, and a lot of intricate timing with that. You can't be too soon, and you can't be too late.
Yeah. It always like, shocks me how much you can like put into this ladder match, and like there's like seems like there's so much into it. How is this all planned out? But my next question, going back to your ROW bio, it states that you've gained inspiration from The Rock and Eddie Guerrero, two huge legends in this business. And I want to start off with The Rock. I saw a prominent tattoo on, I think, your left shoulder. Um,
Mhm.
was that tattoo heavily inspired by The Rock? Because it looks like those Samoan tribal tattoos a little bit.
Yes, yes. So my first tattoo was actually it was a jaguar. And so a jaguar is like my favorite. It's my favorite animal. I don't know why. It always has been. It's always been my favorite animal. Um, I just think they look so cool and they're so powerful. Um, and so I had that as my first tattoo. And then later on, I said, well, man, I love The Rock's Polynesian art. That to me, that stuff is so awesome. And I've looked up, what the different symbols mean, and what they're supposed to represent. And I said, man, that'd be pretty cool if I could get something kind of like his. And so I went to my tattoo artist and I told him, I said, hey, could you not give me an exact replica of The Rock's tattoo, but something very similar? And he's like, yeah, I could do that for you. And so we went in there, and it was a grueling 6 hours. We did that in two sessions, and it ended up coming out really good. I really liked it.
Yeah, it looks really nice. And do you have any other tattoos based on professional wrestling, or
No, that's it. Just that one. I want to get more though.
what? Is that one the one that hurt the most? Would you say, or
Yeah, I'd say so, because the collarbone really hurt. I remember the collarbone. I was digging nails into the cushions of the seats. But that one I toughed it out. And then I remember the nipple hurt a lot. Every time he got real close to the nipple, it literally felt like someone had a lighter and they just held it to my nipple. That's
uh,
what it felt. That's the best way I could explain it. Is somebody lighting it on fire? Oh, it hurt. It burned.
uh, yeah, man. Ah, man. Like I can do a lot of things, but putting tattoos near my nipples is probably
Yeah,
or
it's
the needle
definitely
near my
a
nipples.
bad spot.
um. So speaking, go back to The Rock. Are there like any other ways The Rock has influenced your wrestling career? Perhaps your mannerisms or moveset or anything?
I notice I take a lot of my timing from him. I like the swinging, the way he punches, the selling. He does great selling to me. Some people like it, some people don't. It's not for everybody, but I notice I sell like him too, just because I've watched so many matches like him. And just I really like. I haven't done too many promos for Row, but every time I do a promo, I'm like, man, I sound like The Rock, and I'm like, I'm not trying to sound like The Rock, but it's just that's really, if I was to sit there and talk trash to somebody, it comes off like The Rock, and that's just because that's somebody I've seen so much in my lifetime to where that's just kind of who I replicate because that's how I learned.
Gonna whip some candy ass.
Yes, jabroni.
But The Rock, obviously, owner of XFL now. And I see that you make it to the Houston Roughnecks games time to time. Um,
Yes.
how's that? How was that at XFL? Did you watch XFL when Vince McMahon was holding it? Like,
So when he had it, I'd say I probably watched the first few games, and one of them, The Rock came out. He was the introduction, and I was like, "Oh man, this is so cool." But yeah, I would watch a few games, but then I kind of got out of it. I got bored with it. So the first run, no, not really. The second run with Vince McMahon, I did watch it, and I did like it. And the Roughnecks were undefeated. I said, "Oh man, this is a championship team. We're gonna make it to the championship. We're gonna finally win a title in Houston." It's been so long, but it
uh,
COVID ended up happening
yeah.
and shut it down. So that sucked. And then the third go around with The Rock, I attended. I think it was the Arlington game against the Renegades, and that was a very fun game. Very very cool atmosphere being in U of H, and it was a cool experience. A little bit different than an NFL game.
Yeah, XFL definitely more fast paced. Yeah, first time around the 2002 one, that was so bad. That was
Yeah, like I said, I watched it. I gave it a shot, and I said, all right, yeah, I don't really like it.
yeah, like the storytelling in professional wrestling just doesn't blend well with professional football.
No, it
Um,
don't.
but yeah, I mean, talking about Houston football, of course, like, I know you as a big football fan, what are you thinking about the Houston Texans and the past draft that happened, I think about a month or so ago?
So when it comes to football, and I get heckled for this. I am not a fan of the Houston Texans.
Oh,
No, no. I grew up a Dallas Cowboy fan, so I
oh,
stay a Dallas Cowboy fan. Yes, and I also like the Longhorns, so I get heckled for that too. But
man.
yeah, those have always been my two teams, and so I won't change it for nobody. And I do occasionally root for the Jacksonville Jaguars,
Oh,
just because I've always liked Jacksonville. I've always thought their uniforms were so freaking cool. But I mean, that's a little side thing. Cowboys they're my bread and butter. So yeah,
yeah.
I know Houston fans, they hate it when they're like, "Oh man, you're a Cowboy fan," and I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Well, is there anyone else you like?" And I'm like, the Jaguars." They're like, "Oh my God, we hate you."
Oh
I'm like,
my,
"Yeah, well, I like the Rockets and Astros." So
this is like an accidental Emilio Tovar heel turn live on the
yes, yes,
podcast.
yes. So I know I can play a heel. So yes.
Yeah, that's funny, but yeah. Oh, speaking of which,
To answer your question, though, the Texans did have a very good draft. Yes, I do keep
yeah,
tabs on mostly all the teams, and I think they had a very good draft. I know that quarterback is going to be very good. They just have to protect him because the running quarterbacks, they won't last forever.
and,
So got to
and the
protect them.
coaching, and the coaching needs to really step it up.
Yeah, hopefully D'Amico really instills a good defense in them. I remember when he was playing, and he was an excellent linebacker.
Yeah,
So I feel like his time in San Francisco could really benefit him in turning that culture around and turning that program around in Houston.
Yeah, man. I'm sick of living in a city of football losers. I was,
Yeah,
uh,
it's been some tough times. It's been some tough times.
so going back to The Rock for one last time, I see on your Instagram pages time to time that you like to kind of show off and advertise The Rock's energy or drink or sports drink, Zoa.
Yes.
How
Yes.
how's Zoa? Do you enjoy it?
It's pretty good. I think it's good. To me, it gives me enough energy to not start getting real jittery. If I, for some reason there's some energy drinks like Monster or Bang, they'll get me jittery to where I need to go full on sprint because just lifting alone it won't take my jitters out. Like I have to go sprint, and that's the only way I'll get it out in the gym. And so I don't really like taking those too much.
Yeah.
But the Zoa is like perfect because it wakes me up and I'm like, okay, I'm focused. I'm ready to go. Let's get a good sweat in. And I don't have to go run 3, 4 miles just to like get the caffeine out of me, get the energy out of me. So yeah, I like Zoa. It's not the best tasting. I think I personally like the way Bang drinks taste, but like I said, I feel like it affects me too much. So I think Zoa is like my perfect middle ground.
This video is now sponsored by Zoa.
Yes.
But I mean, the fact that The Rock owns it, that make you be like, I should really get this.
Yeah, I wanted to try it, and like I said, there's some flavors where I'm like, oh no, this is awful. I can't drink this. I'm sorry. I don't care if The Rock wanted to pay me, I wouldn't drink this. And then there's some where I'm like, okay, this is good. I like this. This will work. So yeah.
Are you kind of trying to do the Izzy James approach? Because Izzy James is trying to post Prime a bunch so Prime can sponsor him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
Well, I don't know. I don't know if Zoa will ever sponsor me, but hey, I'd love it if they did. I drink a lot of Zoa, so
so so we also talked about Eddie Guerrero and knowing your high flying ability, knowing that you use the frog splash. You think it's a fair assumption to say that Eddie Guerrero is that huge influence into you in the ring more than The Rock is?
yes, I'd say more outside the ring, Rock, more inside the ring, Eddie. Me and Eddie are both 5'8", so the height is similar. I would like to be as built as Eddie. So I'm trying to get there. But I feel like his style is something that I could try to replicate a little bit better than the Rock style. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so uh, I actually fell in love with Eddie when The Rock left WWE. That's what's funny because when The Rock was in there, I believe I started watching in '98. So it was like hot Attitude Era, Stone Cold, Undertaker, Rock, and I picked The Rock to be my favorite. And so once he started venturing off into Hollywood, which was around like 2003 ish, he started disappearing a lot. I said, okay, I still like The Rock, but I need to find somebody else that, is my favorite, that I can watch every single week. And that's where Eddie stepped right in. And it was right around 2003, 2004. He started making a big run. And I said, man, this guy's awesome. I always knew he was there, but I never really paid attention to him. Like
Yeah.
back in WCW, I was like, oh, yeah, Eddie's cool. He's cool. I like him. But it was mainly after The Rock left, I really got invested in the Eddie Guerrero. And so I ended up falling in love with him, and I liked his style. He was so funny. I liked the lowriders, like everything about him. I thought he was very charismatic. I mean, excellent in-ring performer. He is one of the best to try to replicate. So I know anytime I'm watching a Eddie match, and you're trying to copy that, that's a good person to copy. So
Yeah, and definitely like a sudden tragic loss whenever he did pass away. How was your
yes.
reaction back then when that happened, especially when he was your favorite during that time?
Oh, it was awful. It was awful. I remember being in school, and I remember a friend. He knew I liked wrestling a lot, and he said, "Hey, did you hear?" And I said, "What?" He goes, "Eddie Guerrero passed." And I said,
Oh.
"No, he didn't." And I played it off. Same thing. Same thing happened with Kobe when Kobe passed away. I
Mhm.
said, "You're stupid. Shut up. Get out of my face. Don't joke like that."
Mhm.
And I ended up getting off of school, and my dad printed out. Uh, this is how you know this was old back then. He printed out the website headline
Oh.
showing that Eddie had passed, and he gave me the paper, and he
Mhm.
said, "Look, did you see?" And I started looking through, and I read the whole article, and I was looking. They had pictures. It was black and white, and I was looking at the pictures, and just tears started falling down my face, and I couldn't believe it, man. It was very close to like a family member dying. It was terrible. All the wrestlers that have passed, I get very sad for it, but I don't think anything hit me the way Eddie Guerrero's death hit me. That one was like, it's like I had lost an uncle.
Yeah, I mean, especially since he was someone who was still like 38 at the time, still
Yes,
in
very
ring
young.
active. Um, and the tribute show was so heartwarming, with, the interviews and the Hurt Johnny Cash song. Very, very intense.
Yeah.
But what other wrestlers besides The Rock and Eddie Guerrero would you say contributed in stylizing who Emilio Tovar is in the ring?
I really liked Rey Mysterio, and his fast pace was really good. I also admire Kurt Angle. I thought Kurt Angle is an excellent wrestler. That's another one where if you want to fine tune your in ring action, there's like none other than Kurt Angle to watch. Kurt Angle is amazing. The way the just his flow, his style, everything about him it's excellent. It's top notch. I may not like his character, to the top, but he's definitely a favorite in my book for trying to perfect your wrestling style.
And that match at WrestleMania 20, Eddie versus Kurt for the
Yeah, it
WWE
was
Championship.
awesome.
Yeah, that was a barn
Awesome. The
burner.
ending, everything.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
great. Um,
I actually met Kurt Angle when WrestleMania was here. The last time WrestleMania was in Dallas, I met Kurt Angle, and he was a real cool dude, man. Really down to earth. I told him, "Hey, I'm wrestling at a reality wrestling with Booker T," and he said, "Really?" And you could see his eyes, they lit up, and he was like, "Oh, that's great." He's like, "Booker's a great coach." He's like, "You're in good hands," and he told me, "I wish you the very best in your wrestling future." And I was like, "Oh man, that's so awesome, Kurt Angle." He wished me the best.
yeah, that's great. Kurt Angle's again one of my favorites. So if he said that to me, I'd be freaking out too.
Yes, yes.
So speaking of WrestleMania, as a Houston boy, I saw you on Instagram talk about a huge event, WrestleMania X7, hosted at the Astrodome. And were you there at that WrestleMania? And if you were, how was that experience being at that WrestleMania? Debatably the best WrestleMania to ever happen.
Oh yeah, I think it's no debate. I think that is the best WrestleMania. I was there. I was there. I believe that was probably my second wrestling event ever. And so that was very special. I believe I went to a Raw before that, and a couple years had passed, and WrestleMania was in town. It was in the Astrodome. And so I told my dad, "You have to take me. You don't have an option. I have to go." And so sure enough, he got the tickets, and I was ecstatic. And when we went in there, Astrodome's such a cool place because when you're walking in that tunnel to get to the arena, it's so narrow, it's so closed, and you walk through that tunnel, and it's like a whole new world opens right in front of you. It's really amazing. I really missed the Astrodome,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was electrifying, just like The Rock. It was an electrifying atmosphere. like right from the opening bell. It was amazing. I enjoyed the Kane match with Raven and Big Show.
Yeah.
Triple H and Undertaker was a thriller. I mean, I remember Shane McMahon and Vince McMahon. I was like, oh my God, can you believe this? A father and a son? Like, I was still a kid. So I was like, how could a father and son fight like that? Like, that was awesome. And then Trish Stratus being in there, that whole spot was awesome. Like, I loved everything about it. Everything about it. It was all of it was great. And I remember being the angriest little kid in the whole entire arena when I saw Vince McMahon help out Stone Cold to get the win. Oh my goodness. I was stomping my feet.
Man.
I was upset. And I remember my parents were like, it's okay, calm down. I'm like, no, that's not okay. That shouldn't have happened. And so yeah, I was a very upset little kid that night. Yes, I was.
The most Yeah, the most shocking heel turn, and it was like, "What?
Came out of
Not
nowhere.
this was your
Never would have
favorite
thought.
too."
Yeah, I was like, "What are you doing? Why is this happening?" Stone Cold, you hate Vince McMahon. What are you doing?
And of course, you can't mention WrestleMania X7 without Edge spearing Jeff Hardy
Oh my
in the
God,
ladder match.
yes,
How
that
was
that
that
match.
reaction?
I believe I lost my voice after that match. It was amazing what those guys did in there.
As a little kid, I wasn't around during this time. I'm a youngin, but looking back, as a little kid when I first saw this, I was freaking out. I can only imagine the live spectrum of it. That would be so cool. Um, so I want to go back to what we kind of mentioned earlier, with your Summer of Champions upcoming, July 15th, Summer of Champions 2023, six-man ladder match. Do you think that you'll be the one to dethrone Rudy Garza as the ROW television champion? What's your game plan going into Summer of Champions?
So yeah, I mean it's gonna be a hell of a match. I kind of consider myself as a dark horse, a wild card. I'm sure everybody has their favorite to win the whole thing, their betting favorite. I have a lot of fans that they want me to win, and so I feel like anything's possible. Anybody can climb up that ladder. Anybody can grab that belt. You just got to be at the right time, at the right place, and you got to take out the right people. And so I know Diego's in there,
Yeah,
and me and Diego, we haven't been getting along very much. Him and La Familia have kind of like turned their backs on me,
yeah,
and I've been trying to take the Eddie approach. I try to take a couple of things that's theirs, and I try to get under their skin a little bit, and really, all in all, I just want to get in that ring, and I kind of just want to take the gloves off and go at it with them. I don't even want to wrestle them. I just want to brawl, all out brawl. And so I feel like this is the perfect opportunity to get back at La Familia in a ladder match. Take out Diego. It's a perfect opportunity. But I still have my eyes on that championship. And so I got to make sure not to get too blinded with rage against Diego to where I end up slipping and falling, and I miss my shot at the championship. And so it's kind of like I have two objectives in that match, and we'll see if I can accomplish both that night.
yeah. I mean, you have definitely a personal beef with La Familia, and maybe one day you can stick that accordion they play up their ass,
Yes, it's so stupid, an accordion.
and of course you have Rudy Garza, an amazing champion, but at the same time very cocky champion who might have some help with royalties international by his side, so you got to watch out for them too.
Yes,
And I hope to see you, and just I want to see you on a ladder doing a frog splash just for Eddie onto Diego de la Cruz.
yes, that's what I want to.
That's what we got
Definitely.
to do.
After a
Um,
few ladder shots, definitely.
yeah, man. Maybe do some Logan Paul Ricochet type bumps and throw him like a Spanish fly through two tables at money,
Yeah.
like at Money in the Bank.
I'm definitely looking to inflict a lot of pain, especially directed towards him.
Oh yeah, man. Emilio Tovar for ROW television champion. Let's do it. Um,
Yes.
so we're just gonna do a real quick at the end, some rapid fire questions. Or honestly, they don't even have to be rapid fire. You can elaborate as much as you want. You're the guest here. So I guess it's just gonna be a series of 11 questions, answer them, and yeah. Um, so first question: XFL or NFL?
NFL.
NFL. Second question: WWE or AEW?
WWE.
Third, favorite wrestling match ever?
Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 25.
You're a man of good taste. Favorite wrestling match you've ever participated in?
I'd say the 6-man ladder match. That was an amazing match.
Yeah, it really was. Fifth one, favorite wrestling match you weren't so proud of?
Uh, Man, I probably forgotten it because I wasn't proud of it. So I cannot really remember because it's just kind of wiped out of my memory.
Probably one of the first ones, huh? Or the sixth question, favorite wrestler besides Eddie and The Rock? I think we answered it, but whatever.
Yeah, I'd probably have to say, man, if it's not Eddie and it's not Rock, it would have to be a tie between Rey Mysterio and Kurt Angle. It would have to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Best words of advice ever given to you based on wrestling?
Booker, he always told me, you have a good look, um, and you're very dedicated. He said, and I believe all your preparation, is the best luck you're ever gonna have. And so I live by that because he says that, nobody slips on a banana peel. Nobody gets lucky in the business. It's all that dedication and all that preparation. That's what's considered their luck.
Yeah. Favorite restaurant?
Favorite restaurant? Oh man. Uh, so right now I've found this new restaurant. It's down in Pearland. It's called Italianos. And man, they blow away Olive Garden. You'll never want to go to Olive Garden ever again once you go there. You'll taste some real Italian food there, and it's very good. And the service is very good.
Do they have the unlimited breadsticks though?
No, no unlimited
Ah,
breadsticks. But you're not even gonna want that trash once you try that place.
shout out to Italianos, right?
Italianos in
Yeah,
Pearland.
Italianos. Yes, shout
Yeah.
out. Number 9, go to workout song.
Oh man, there's so many. You know what? One that always gets me pumped up is probably Hell Yeah by Rev Theory. That one always gets me going. Yeah.
Yeah. Number 10, hardest bump you ever took.
Hardest bump. Man, hardest bump. There's a lot. I'd say probably off of the ladder match. And it was with Diego. That final spot where he kind of did a like an attitude adjustment to me off the ladder. I knew it was gonna hurt, and I just braced myself. And once I landed, I just rolled out of the ring because I was in pain. I was like, "Oh my god!" So yeah, that's probably the hardest one.
That bastard, you need some payback in this
I'm
next ladder
telling you,
match.
I'm telling you, he's gotten me before, even before La Familia.
We might have to have him on the show and explain himself because this is ridiculous. And of course, we gotta go with the last question. Favorite Zoa flavor.
Oh, favorite. So I've been drinking the cherry limeade a lot. So I think that is probably my favorite. I did like the pineapple coconut. That one's really good.
Mm.
If you don't like coconut, you won't like it. But I like that one. But I would have to say probably cherry limeade because I can't stop ordering that one.
Hell yeah, man. And during these last minutes of the podcast, I want to give the floor to you. Just drop your socials, drop whatever events that are going to come up soon that you're going to participate in, or anything else you want to share about your life.
Yeah, man. So you can follow me on Instagram, Emilio Tovar Row. You can follow me on Facebook, Emilio Tovar Jr. Those are probably like the two that I really have. I have a TikTok, so you can follow me on TikTok, Emilio Tovar. Um, but no, man, really, I'd say the thing I want to get out there is that the wrestling business has given me so much in such a short amount of time. It's really cool to be able to live out your dream. That's always been my dream growing up as a kid, was to be in the NFL or, be in the WWE. That's always been like something I've always wanted to do. And I love that I can actually like step in the ring and do like the things that my favorite wrestlers have done before me. It's just a surreal feeling. And then just to have a crowd chanting your name, and then after the shows you have all the kids running up and they want you to sign things and they want you to take pictures with them. I didn't think that that would ever happen to me. I really didn't. I didn't think that I would be anything special like that. And so just for me to go through that so young into my lifetime, it's a blessing. And I really love doing this for the fans, and I really love getting in there and doing a dream. I mean, just me being at Reality of Wrestling, it's a dream come true. It's a big stage.
Yeah. And we, as fans, appreciate you, Emilio Tovar, for putting your body on the line to entertain us. And thank you so much for taking your time out of your day, joining us on the podcast. Really appreciate it. Follow Emilio and follow us. While you're at it too, Restless down below. Subscribe, like, comment, whatever. Again, thank you, Emilio. And thank you guys for watching. And remember, guys, stay restless.
Yeah. Thank you very much.